Welcome to the Gameweek 17 team selection. Before we get onto the team selection for the midweek games, let's take a quick look back at Gameweek 16. It was a solid return of 3 out of 4 clean sheets at the back, with Kevin Long coming in to replace the injured Ben Mee for Burnley's 1-0 win over Watford. Chelsea suffered a narrow 1-0 defeat to West Ham, but despite keeping just 1 clean sheet during their last 4 games, Conte's side have only conceded 2 big chances over that period, which is fewer than every other team in the league, and suggests more clean sheets will come throughout their kind run of fixtures. After so much talk surrounding the wealth of midfield options, and the possibility of moving to a 5-man midfield, there was only one man who found a return in our midfield during Gameweek 16, and that was of course Mo Salah. He provided his 13th goal of the season during the 1-1 draw with Everton. Captain Harry Kane came good, scoring a brace during the 5-1 win over Stoke, while Tammy Abraham came off the bench to provide an assist for Wilfred Bonney's late winner for Swansea. So a score of 69 points has seen a big green arrow up to 67k, comfortably inside the top 100,000 now, with all of the chips remaining. So now let's look ahead to Gameweek 17. With midweek games to come, 2 free transfers have already been used to freshen up the defence and downgrade the third striker. Mustafi still has a chance of returning from injury to face West Ham, but there's no guarantee, and Man City have a slight advantage with their upcoming fixtures, facing Swansea, Bournemouth, Newcastle and Crystal Palace over the next 5 game weeks. So Nicolas Otamendi comes in. To fund that transfer, Tammy Abraham makes way for Everton's Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who's now started each of the last 4 game weeks, providing 1 goal and 3 assists. The Swansea forward was dropped to the bench last game week, and the fixtures get tougher for him now, so it seems like a good time to get rid. Here's how the rest of the team is shaping up for Gameweek 17. The Burnley double up of Nick Pope and Ben Mee are at home to Stoke, and once again Kevin Long is on the bench to come in if Mee fails to recover from injury. Stoke have scored just 4 times over the last 4 game weeks. Only 6 teams have scored fewer goals over that period. Nicolas Otamendi comes in for Man City's away trip to Swansea, who've scored just 2 goals in their last 4 games. Only Brighton have managed fewer goals over the same period. And finally, Andreas Christensen keeps his place as Chelsea travel to a Huddersfield side that have scored just 3 times during their last 4 game weeks. Raheem Sterling is perhaps a rotation risk for the trip to Swansea, having played 90 minutes in each of the last 4 Premier League games. Ruben Loftus-Cheek will come in if the Man City midfielder fails to make an appearance. Richarlison is looking to end a run of 3 games without returning a goal or assist, when Watford travel to a Crystal Palace side that drew 2-2 with Bournemouth last weekend. Only Hazard and Salah have taken more efforts from inside the box than Richarlison amongst midfielders during the last 4 game weeks. Mo Salah has now found a goal or assist in each of his last 8 Premier League games, and after being subbed off early against Everton, the Egypt international looks set to start against West Brom. Eden Hazard completes the midfield ahead of Chelsea's trip to Huddersfield. His tally of 7 shots on target during the last 4 game weeks is on par with Harry Kane and is more than any other midfielder has managed. Only Lacazette has taken more amongst all players. Alvaro Morata has produced 5 efforts on target during the last 4 game weeks, which ranks him 5th amongst forwards over that period. With Batshuayi now available, and Pedro and Willian pushing for game time, the Spaniard could potentially be afforded a rest, just as Eden Hazard was for the last midweek Premier League game. But hopefully no more than one of the front 7 fail to make an appearance, with Ruben Loftus-Cheek the only strong option to come off the bench. Spurs forward Harry Kane was back amongst the goals last weekend with a brace against Stoke. Over the last 4 game weeks, Kane's tally of 4 goals is on par with Salah, and no player has scored more. His tally of 7 shots on target during that period is on par with Hazard, and more than Salah has managed. Finally, Dominic Calvert-Lewin lines up for Everton's trip to Newcastle, although Ruben Loftus-Cheek remains an alternative for Crystal Palace's home fixture against Watford. The Everton forward has provided 4 FPL returns during his last 4 games, and he's up against a Newcastle side that have conceded 10 goals during that period. Only Huddersfield and Stoke have conceded more. Once again, the captain will be between Eden Hazard, Mo Salah and Harry Kane, and all 3 players have promising fixtures in Gameweek 17. With Klopp and Conte more prone to rotating their attack, Harry Kane looks more secure for game time, and therefore the armband will stay with him for the home fixture against Brighton. Follow FPLtips on Twitter to be notified of any updates to the team in advance of the game week deadline.